Everybody. Good afternoon. I am Bonnie Barclay. I am the owner of Creekside Counseling and Wellness here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I'm coming back to you today to finish up the two-part series for this month. 'Tis the season to be jolly or not. And we're going to be looking at grief and the holidays today. And then I'm going to be taking a break, taking a couple of weeks off, and coming back in January to talk about some other topics for the Facebook Live. So, we're going to look at, I've been talking last time and today, just that the holidays can definitely be a mixed bag for people and exploring ways to take care of yourself. Today, again, focusing on grief and the holidays. So, I want to start first with some things about grief in general, and then I want to move into coping and self care strategies to hopefully give you some nuggets to help you along the way. So, while there's a lot out there about grief, research, and information about the different stages or experience of grief, I want to say that in my experience, it is still a very personal process. I say this because depending on the loss, this can look different, and the needs for coping and self care may be different. Oh, good grief, I can't speak today. They may need to be tailored differently as well. Most of us think of grief related to a loss. But grief can occur with other kinds of changes, even changes we choose in a positive way. Those can still have loss associated. And we need to be mindful of that and take care of ourselves emotionally. What are those kind of changes that can also end up in grief? Moves, job changes, school changes. There are losses many do not talk about as well. Miscarriages, estrangement in family, lost dreams when things don't turn out the way we had hoped or wanted. It's so important to acknowledge these for ourselves at least. Grief is not a linear process. The phases and stages, unfortunately, are not linear or a checkbox experience. And once we can accept this and lean more into the ups and downs, it will actually feel more manageable. Letting go of what is normal and what can be controlled. Approaching this with more self compassion. So, with all that said, the holidays can be an added time of stress and anxiety when you are grieving. Some even dread it. So, here are a few of the key fears of those grieving that I hear during this time. Number one, not wanting to lose control over their emotions and burden others or ruin a special holiday moment for others. Two, uncertainty about how to balance remembering and honoring with moving forward. Three, uncertainty about how to communicate these things with others. So, last week I talked about a value driven holiday. And while this is important and helpful, it's often the same thing that triggers you when you're grieving. Carrying on these same traditions without a loved one. These traditions and future holidays change. So, today we're going to explore 7 key areas to consider for the holiday season and other trigger events like anniversaries and birthdays. So I'm going to describe all 7 and just kind of bullet them out, and then we'll break them down for the rest of the Facebook Live today. So the first one is expectations, communication, honoring precious moments, self-care, having an exit plan, having a holiday ally, and learning to take inventory. So let's start with expectations. The holidays are going to look and feel differently if you are grieving. Our culture gives us enough expectation about what the holidays should be. So we want to try and approach this differently for ourselves. I work with my clients to help them define realistic expectations for the holidays. Turn inward, ask yourself, what is realistic? What do I need? Get support from a trusted friend, a counselor, or other kind of support if you need help walking through trying to really figure out what those expectations and needs are. It is okay to have bad days, bad moments, and it's equally okay to have good days and good moments. The first expectation I want you to think about releasing is the expectation that you have to grieve a certain way. Comparison is not your friend and should not be your measuring stick of progress or lack thereof. So instead of comparison, I'd like you to consider grace. Do you know someone who has lost someone and had to navigate the holidays in this way before? Sometimes that person can be a really good resource. Well, Bonnie, I don't want to upset or burden them. Certainly use your judgment with this, but I have found many like to feel useful coming out of or being in their own grief and purposeful around it. Paying it forward can help them find meaning in their own journey. So I love this quote from Marnie Henderson, who specializes in helping others with grieving. She has a blog. She says, "Grieving is an honoring of love and a precious act of humanity. Be present with it. Let it flow through you. This is not the time to add stressful situations on top of what you're already experiencing." For some, even experiencing for the first time, right? Know that you are not alone. We have a whole world filled with tender hearts for different reasons during the holiday. Take a moment to really take that in. We have a whole world filled with tender hearts during the holidays. And sometimes we don't burden people. We actually, in our own vulnerability, bring connection, bring an opportunity to have a voice around our grief and not keep it in silence. My hope is that some of these words help you navigate the holiday season with more grace, self-compassion, compassion for others, and wisdom. All right, so number 2, communication. If you can share with family and friends how you're really feeling and put all the cards out on the table, it can really be helpful. One moment you may feel like being with others, and another you may need to be alone. Give yourself space to grieve through the holidays at your own pace. When those that love us are aware of where we're at, it opens the door for honest communication that can support us at any given moment. Sharing time with people who tenderly support you in your grief can remind us that we don't have to be alone all the time. Sometimes you've got to use your voice to ask for help and support. A lot of clients and personal friends talk about how the support around the time of the loss is great and how that can fade over time. People continue on in their lives, their day to day. It's not that they don't care, it's just they move forward. And when they do think of you, they may not know how to approach the topic or determine how to continue supporting you. This might just be an act of reminding friends and family that you need help, or reaching out to other resources, support groups, and things of that nature. So the next one is honoring precious moments. Your traditions and routines either may have changed or now feel differently, and it's important to notice that and honor that. Your life has changed, and that deserves recognition in a deeply meaningful way. Hold on to the traditions that work for you and be open to the idea that you may find new traditions that become part of your holidays. This is the space between honoring the past, celebrating the present, and beginning to dream and plan for the future. The next one is self-care. All right, so we got some key words here that I want you to take in as I move forward with self-care. Patience, grace, and tenderness. And I like to summarize that or sum it up with self-compassion. Grief permeates our body, our mind, and our soul. It is so important to really embrace self-care. Holidays or not, this is the time to rest. Choose what activities or events fill you up, and allow yourself to not attend the activities that do not fill you up. So right now, ask yourself, what fills you up? What gives you rest? How can you get some movement and sunshine built into your day? That can be so restorative. Are you attending to all parts of you, mind, body, and soul during your grief and holiday journey? How are you giving yourself time alone, space to grieve? Not always having to be on for others. How can you balance this and stay connected, that time for self and time in community with others? It's important to nourish yourself, your whole self during this time. We put appointments for everything and everyone else into our calendars. Where are your appointments for self-care? Next, I want to talk about an exit plan. So this goes with number 1, related to realistic expectations for yourself, and the key words from number 4 we just discussed that summed up with self-compassion. So another quote from Marnie Henderson that she beautifully writes in her blog is about this exit plan. Prepare yourself by acknowledging that you may want to leave an event unexpectedly, and that's okay. Grief is unpredictable. Say you go to an activity and realize halfway through that this is just too overwhelming or does not even have meaning to you anymore. Take care of yourself and exit. This may happen quite often. When we are grieving, we are missing something or someone we have lost, and the flood of emotions can happen unexpectedly. There may be times when we can let it flow, and other times we need to have space. Take away the added pressure, and again, give yourself permission to live in the moment with your needs and emotions. And guys, this exit is not about avoiding. This is about tender care in the moment of your grief process. There may be a time where you push yourself to do something because it's important to you. But sometimes when you're grieving, it's hard to even figure out what that is. And that's what I'm talking about, is to begin with honoring those emotions, giving yourself space to figure out what you want to push yourself to do and what you don't. Identifying your holiday ally. Who is your go-to support? Someone who loves you fully to walk with you during this time, both giving you support and at times if you need it to be held accountable for certain things, right? Especially if you get stuck in some way. What we think as self-care can quickly morph into a rabbit hole before we know it, and sometimes we need help getting out of it, and we need that friend to come pull us up by our scruff of our neck and drag us out of that hole. It can be difficult to reach out when you're not doing well or to respond honestly when someone asks, like, how are you doing? Let's be honest, sometimes people don't want the real answer. We're walking by in Kroger and we're like, hey, how are you doing? And we'll keep walking. It becomes easier to say fine when you're really not, especially around the holidays or significant anniversaries that may be painful for you. So I want you to think about, who can you really be transparent with? You could reach out and ask them to check in on you periodically. You could even tell these holiday allies or significant supports, tell them the dates, the holidays, the significant moments that are the hardest for you. How do you want them to check in with you? Is that checking in and having a talk, or is that let's go and get dinner, or I need a distraction so I don't go in a rabbit hole? Promise to be honest with them. This helps you take inventory, can help you stay grounded, and will help you keep accountable during your grieving journey. So that moves us into learning to take inventory. So what do I mean by this? We check the pantry, that's taking inventory to make sure that we have everything to make our holiday recipe, right? Well, this is a different kind of inventory. It's an inventory of your mind, your body, and your soul. Depending on the story of your loss, things can feel off at different times before and after the holidays, before or after anniversaries or other events. Learning to be more self-aware and understanding that holidays aren't the only day you'll feel off balance is helpful, because it helps you learn to carve out extra time for yourself when you start to feel the signs. It allows you to do what you need to do in order to feel what you feel and move forward, whether grieving during the holidays or any other day. So the hard truth for today is all of this, right? Everything I've been talking about. Grief and the holidays can be hard. And I hope there are some nuggets here to help you on your journey as the holidays are upon us. And your takeaway for today, one word: permission. Permission to just be. I want to wish you guys the happiest of holidays. Take care of yourself during this mixed bag, whether it's jolly or not. And I hope to catch up with you guys on a new series in January. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them and I will be sure to get back to you. If it's more of a private comment, feel free to private message me and I'd be happy to reach out to you. If you're struggling and you do need some resources to get through the holidays, please let me know and I will do my best to help you get connected with what you need. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.